Shinichi Kanou, a longtime otaku, has been accepted into an anime company. The company representative was a man named Matoba, who was very pleased with Shinichi's knowledge of manga and anime. He offered Shinichi a cup of coffee, and after drinking it, Shinichi fainted instantly. As soon as he regained consciousness, Shinichi saw a beautiful maid, much to his excitement. But he couldn't understand what language the maid was speaking, so the maid gave him a magic ring that could translate languages. Not knowing what had happened to himself, a girl named Minori appeared to explain everything to him. Minori was sent by the Japanese government to protect Shinichi, and they were currently outside the city, the capital of the Eldant Empire. Matoba is actually a government employee. He reveals that during a scouting trip, the Japanese self-defense forces found a secret passage through another world. And when they passed through the gate, they met the people of Eldant country. Realizing that the Eldant country also had no hostile intentions, the Japanese government decided to establish a diplomatic relationship with them. And Shinichi's mission is to spread Japanese otaku culture into Eldant country. While here, Shinichi will be served by a half-elf maid named Mayusel, and a lizardman named Brook. The next day, Shinichi was taken by Minori to the royal palace to meet Queen Petralka of the kingdom. As soon as he found out the queen was a little girl, he shouted loudly, making her feel offended and punching Shinichi in a fit of rage. To Petralka's anger, Matoba asked for her forgiveness on Shinichi's behalf, so she quickly calmed down and forgave him. Later, Matoba asked Petralka to allow them to introduce the otaku culture into the country, but her cousin Garius suggested that the otaku culture could be something toxic. Not listening to Garius's words, Shinichi stood up and spoke directly to his face, making him angry and demanding to skewer him. Seeing the interesting in Shinichi's person, because not many people dared to turn on Garius like that, Petralka happily agreed to their proposal. That night, Shinichi taught Mayusel Japanese, but actually it was mainly to look at girls. Thanks to Matoba's support, Shinichi built a library dedicated to anime and manga in his mansion. After learning about this world, Shinichi realized that the class discrimination is extremely serious here, and the illiteracy rate is up to 80%, so it will be difficult to spread manga into this country. Petralka often goes to the library to listen to Shinichi read manga, because she can't read Japanese. Once, when Mayusel asked permission to bring tea in, Petralka angrily demanded to beat her because she thought she was bothering the two of them, but Shinichi stopped Petralka. After that, Shinichi explained to Petralka about the class equality he learned in philosophy, so Petralka quickly calmed down and pardoned Mayusel on the condition that Shinichi also teach her Japanese. Sometime later, Shinichi completed a school for children of all races and classes in Eldant Kingdom with the support of the Japanese government. Petralka bragged to Shinichi that she had finished the second kanji, but he was only interested in Mayusel's body, so she got very angry and asked Mayusel to leave her mansion immediately. Suddenly, a group of rebels attacked the school and took Petralka hostage, causing everyone to have to fold their arms. They objected to Shinichi's construction of this multi-racial school, because in their belief humans were a superior race, so they did not allow other races to be equal to humans. The rebels dragged Shinichi out to execute him, but when they learned that Shinichi was just a pawn of the Japanese government, they threw him aside. Minori asked him to take out a small knife from her shirt, and she used it to cut the rope. Shinichi then used his alarm to cause panic among the rebels. Taking that opportunity, Minori defeated several of them, and Mayusel used her magic to defeat them all. However, the rebel commander before he fell still managed to throw a knife at Petralka, but Mayusel used his body to block Petralka's knife. Seeing that Mayusel was injured for saving her, made Petralka feel very regretful about her treatment of Mayusel all this time. Fortunately, Mayusel's injury was not so serious that it did not affect her life. The next day, Shinichi went to class to teach the first lesson, and he taught the students some basic knowledge and concepts of otaku culture. Not liking Shinichi's constant teaching of harem content, Minori took over the podium to teach students about the genre of passion, one of her favorite genres. On their way home, Minori spotted someone in the area of the mansion, and when they checked, they discovered a beastkin girl redrawing their mansion. Minori thought that the beastman girl might be a spy from the Federation country, so Minori handed her over to the Eldant Kingdom side. When he learned that the beastman girl might face the death penalty, Shinichi quickly went to Petralka to defend her. Despite this, Petralka still agrees to spare the beastman girl's death, but Shinichi will have to take care of her. Overjoyed that she didn't have to die, the other girl happily hugged Shinichi, making him so excited that he forgot that he was in front of Petralka. The Beastman girl's name is Elbia, and Shinichi lets her be his assistant to draw manga. The next day, Shinichi was teaching students at school about some dating games. That night, Elbia didn't come down to eat with everyone else, so Shinichi went to her room, and he saw her drawing a portrait of him with a panicked expression, along with some her other scary behavior. Shinichi was thinking a lot about Elbia's strange behavior, so he couldn't concentrate on anything. As soon as he returned from teaching, Petralka suddenly called him into the palace. Garius is now no longer opposed to otaku culture, but even he is very supportive, after reading a passion book borrowed from Minori. Back at the house, Shinichi continues to worry about Elbia, and thinks she might be about to assassinate him. That night, Elbia appeared on Shinichi's bed, causing Shinichi to scream in terror. Turns out, every full moon, Elbia has no control over her behavior. The students in Shinichi's class were arguing with each other about their favorite manga, so Shinichi asked Petralka's permission to hold a soccer match to raise racial solidarity. Thanks to Petralka's presence, many people came here to watch the match between the dwarves and the elves. With their overwhelming health, the dwarves quickly destroyed the elves' formation, and led them by a score of 50-0. Seeing that the match was unfair, Minori asked Shinichi to allow the fairies to use magic, and the dwarves agreed to it. As soon as they were granted the right to use magic, the elves quickly counterattacked with such force that they even blew up the dwarves' goal. Since neither side would give in to the other, the field quickly turned into a battlefield, until all members of both sides collapsed. Soon after, Petralka ran into the field to play ball with Elbia and Mayusul, much to the surprise of the people's soldiers when their queen had such fun with other races. Because Matoba's people kept buying the wrong anime that Shinichi asked for with other anime, he asked him to take him back to Japan to hand over the things he needed. Mayusul asked Shinichi to let her go back to Japan with him, but Matoba didn't accept it. Since the location of the portal was a state secret, Shinichi had to take sleeping pills before leaving. When he wakes up, Shinichi finds him in his room, and discovers that Mayusul also made it through by hiding in his luggage. The next day, Shinichi took Mayusul for a walk around the city, and to her surprise, everything here was completely new to her. Shinichi also took Mayusul to Akiba, a popular shopping area in Japan that sells all kinds of manga and anime products. After walking around, the two of them went into a servant shop to have lunch together. An employee painted Shinichi's face on Mayusul's meal, so she didn't dare to eat it because her master was there, causing the employee to realize that Mayusul was the real professional maid. When he got home, Shinichi realized that this was the first time he was sharing a room with a girl, and he had to endure it until he didn't go overboard with Mayusul. The next day, Shinichi was brought back to the Eldant Kingdom, and because he was so busy hanging out with his girlfriend, he forgot to buy the anime he needed. Petralka was under too much pressure from being a queen, so she locked herself in her room, and cast a spell at the door so that no one could disturb her. But that magic didn't work on someone from another world like Shinichi, so they asked him to advise Petralka to go outside to work. According to Shinichi's comment, Petralka is suffering from a syndrome that otaku often suffer from, that is hikikomori. This syndrome makes the patient want to be in a small space, and afraid to interact with others. After a bit of persuasion, Petralka allowed Shinichi to enter her room alone. Thanks to Matoba's support, Shinichi built Petralka a smaller space, like a room of a hikikomori. Shinichi used a manga to distract the guards so that Petralka could enter the bathroom undetected. That night, Shinichi told Petralka, "Actually, no one takes the initiative to become a hikikomori, but all of them have to face difficulties in life, and once they become hikikomori, difficult to reintegrate back into society." The next morning, Petralka decided to go out to work after hearing advice from Shinichi. Since the school had more and more students, Shinichi let Mayusul help him with the teaching, and he decided to make the first live-action film of the Eldant Kingdom with the main role played by Petralka. Minori took the responsibility of directing this film, and everything went very smoothly. On the last day of filming for the film, a dragon attacked the set. Realizing the dangerous situation, the Japanese self-defense forces used their entire artillery force to drive away the dragon to everyone's surprise. After many difficulties, the film was finally completed, but when she realized her acting was too bad in the film, Petralka asked to ban this film forever. Shinichi noticed that the amount of manga they received was getting less and less, causing the students to start competing with each other for manga. Meanwhile, manga has begun to ingrained in the lives of the people here, some even demanding to quit their jobs to stay at home to read manga. Faced with this situation, Shinichi asked Matoba to increase the number of monthly manga deliveries, But Matoba turned his face and said that all this was in the calculation of the Japanese government. They plotted to make the people of Eldant completely dependent on the otaku culture. Then the Japanese government would use culture war to completely take over the kingdom. Shinichi realizes that he has also abetted the government's plan, and that has turned him into an invader. According to Minori, this land is a fertile place rich in resources and extremely important to Japan, so she advised him not to do anything foolish. Shinichi locked himself in his room for a while to think about the matter himself. But Matoba forced him to continue spreading the otaku culture, or else he could only get rid of him. Shinichi then went with Matoba to meet Petralka. Thinking that Shinichi wouldn't dare to do anything stupid, he suggested to Petralka that the Eldant Kingdom produce its own manga so that it no longer had to depend on the Japanese government. And he used Elbia's drawings along with a student's first short novel at his school as a basis. Everyone thought this was a very good idea, so everyone applauded, but Matoba was very upset about this. Realizing the need to get rid of Shinichi, Matoba sent someone to assassinate him, but Petralka's maids with bulletproof magic and magic bows were already here to capture all the intruders. Turns out it was Shinichi who foresaw everything and informed Petralka. Matoba was called into the castle after the incident, but he denied his responsibility to the assassination squad and apologized to Shinichi for the incident, so they had to let him out. Later, in order to ensure Shinichi's safety, Petralka sent an entire group of harem maids to protect him day and night. And when things calmed down, Petralka sent her team of maids back to the palace. Soon after, a fire broke out at the school, so Shinichi rushed there to save his favorite magazine. But when he got to the magazine rights, he was drugged by Matoba's people, and they left him to die in the school. Knowing that Shinichi was in danger, Mayusul and Elbia rushed inside to save him, and Elbia stayed behind to hold off the other two soldiers. Mayusul found Shinichi lying in the fire, and when a cupboard crashed on the two of them, Mayusul used her magic to protect him. However, she couldn't sustain this magic for too long, and fortunately Minori and Elbia arrived to save the two of them in time. Later, Petralka had a talk with the Japanese authorities, and threatened that if Shinichi had any fate, she would cut off all diplomatic relations between the two sides, causing them to give up the idea of getting rid of him. Petralka sent people to follow Matoba to control him, and after that, things gradually calmed down, so Shinichi continued to go to school to teach as usual. Thank you for watching the full video review. I will leave other review videos of the channel here, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the bell button to receive notifications about the latest anime review videos.